Welcome to your key discovery point. I am Burney from Nextpoint, joined by Doug Austin of eDiscovery today. Doug, you have been busy. This is now your sixth year releasing the State of the Industry report. And in case, we just needed to clarify, this is the e-discovery industry. But I got to tell you, this is something that I look forward to every year now, Doug. And just the way that you you had a record number of respondents today, this year, which I think is great. And it's just great to kind of put a little bit of a feel the pulse of what's going on in the industry. This is the 2026 State of the Industry report. It is now out and it is available. We'll tell you how you can get your own copy here in a little bit. But Doug, take us through a little bit of creating this, why it's important, and maybe a little bit about how much work it takes for you every year to get this out.
I don't know how much people want to hear about the work it takes, but yeah, it's obviously a labor of love. But I'm always interested to see how things work out. As you mentioned, we did get a record number of respondents again this year, 559 respondents to the survey. We weren't actually even shooting for a record, honestly. We were shooting for several hundred. We try to make sure it's a broad representation of the industry. But people kept trickling in, filling out the survey, so we left it open a little longer and got to the record. So that was nice. And we'll certainly look at some of the results here in a moment. But as you know, because you participated at least the past couple of years, there's a second part to the report, which is thought leader observations on the same trends.
Yes.
So we had 62 folks participate this year, including you and Anand, I think, from Nextpoint.
That's right.
Yeah, so the two of you participated. Thanks to Nextpoint for being
Thank you.
For helping make it possible, and of course thanks to EDRM for being a sponsor for all 6 years. The report every year, the last 2 years we've had 12 questions, 2 demographic questions, 10 topic questions. And in essence, this blog post that you're showing here is, in essence, kind of the reproduction of the executive summary out of the report with some high-level, results. So you get a breakdown of the respondent groups. We were able, for the second year in a row, to do a breakout of 5 respondent groups, including government entities. Corporations and government entities respondents were the highest number we've ever had, so that was great. Certainly, no surprise, AI and generative AI are, big again. We had more than a third of respondents expecting Gen AI technologies to have a transformative effect for eDiscovery, but this year we added a choice. How many of you think it's already transformative? And nearly a quarter of folks said they think it's already transformative. So that's 60.7% over 3 and 5 who think it's going to be transformative by sometime this year. And certainly we also had, again, 7 use cases that are being used by more than actually 40% of respondents when I looked at the numbers again yesterday, preparing for a webinar. But one of the things we're still not seeing is it being used in a lot of cases yet. Only 17.7% are using it in all or most of their cases. So I think that's the next level. People have been, they've been doing the tests of it, making sure that they're comfortable with the technology. I expect the uses across cases is going to go up, and I would certainly expect that this year. One of the more notable areas is predictive coding, which we've asked about all 6 years. And this year we had the most respondents, the highest percentage of respondents ever say they use predictive coding in all or most of their cases, 34.4%. So that is an interesting indication that predictive coding at least hasn't gone any place just yet.
Still here.
And the question is, will it? I think people have differing views on that. We
And I think I saw just quickly some of those industry thought leaders. There were some great quotes in there, like if you're questioning why that is true, that even while we're still asking predictive coding, there were just some great quotes in there from some of the thought leaders about that why, or understanding a little bit better why.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one of the things that some folks mention, of course, is they're seeing teams utilize both predictive coding and generative AI within the same
Aha,
workflows.
right.
So that's certainly something that I think might keep it around, and we'll see, how things develop. We also had 38% of respondents who discover mobile devices in all or most of their cases, versus 20.6 who use it in very few or none of their cases. For collaboration apps, the numbers are quite a bit higher there,
Hmm.
42.5 and 15.2. So mobile devices kind of in a holding pattern, if you will, the past couple of years. And when we get into the details, I think you can, and the breakout of the groups, you can see, how things break out. We asked a
Yeah, I
business. Oh, go
I
ahead.
did
I'm
find
sorry.
that interesting there. Like I would have thought certainly the mobile devices were maybe just a little bit higher. Certainly maybe over 50% of the cases on there. And I was really surprised by 20% or so have in very few or none of their cases. It just because at least in my own experience, uh, I've been saying for a while, like mobile devices, especially text messages, right, from the communication is quickly catching up to like the collection of emails, because that's typically and traditionally what we have always done, or still is maybe the primary source in a lot of litigation matters when we're collecting for eDiscovery. And I just continue to see that text messages, simply because that's where people are communicating these days. And I just wonder if that's because they've deemed and determined that there's not relevant communications maybe in the text messages, or in many cases, Doug, maybe they just don't know how to collect some of that. And so they don't do it that way. I don't know. I know the report goes into a little bit more detail, and I did enjoy digging into that a little bit, but I did catch was a little surprised on that. Like I thought it would be more from the mobile device, but again, this is why reports like what you do, Doug, is so invaluable, because at least it level sets us sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, and I think there's a variety of reasons why it's not higher. To single out one of the thought leader responses, Larry Briggy of IBM pointed
Uh,
out that they're getting a lot of the mobile device data in the cloud. They're
yes, right, right,
so they're not having to go after the mobile devices. I mean, even if somebody even does iCloud backups, you could get the text messages. So.
exactly. Great
Yeah,
point.
so I think that's
Yep.
one of the things that you're seeing, and you're also seeing, corporations, kind of reluctant to go after BYOD devices. So, I think there's a number of items at play there. So really quickly, get through a couple of the last topics. More than a third of responses, respondents on our business question, which we asked for the first time in several years, are expecting increased pricing pressure on AI. Certainly, increased use of AI technology is the biggest trend. It's the biggest choice for biggest trend of the year for the third year in a
Nice.
row, I believe. Um, and once again, for the sixth year in a row, everybody's not talking about lack of e-discovery competence as as the e-discovery challenge not being talked about enough. But at 22.2%, the lowest ever. So we'll see.
Okay,
And
slightly
then
better.
yeah, and then notably, an issue that we did something about a couple of weeks ago, evidence authentication issues due to the rise of deepfakes is another
Yes,
item. Is the second one they say is not being talked about enough. Of course, we had a webinar a couple of weeks ago about
we
that,
did.
so we're doing our part. So
Thank you, Doug.
so so how do you get the report? If you're watching
Yes,
this
please.
and yeah, and you're wanting to get the report, it is free. All you have to do is subscribe to eDiscovery today. That's basically, this is something we provide only to subscribers. Subscribe by email. You can do it at the top of the site. Just put in your email, plug it in. You'll get an email not only with this report, but any other reports we produced. And we do have a report coming up in about a week, another new report on looking for validation and evaluating methods for review in eDiscovery today. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Okay.
we're trying to be aggressive this year and putting out new reports and papers and things to continue to provide useful information to the eDiscovery Today audience. And if you're a subscriber, you'll continue to get all those for free.
Oh, that's fantastic. And just so people know, like if you go to the very top of the of any page on your blog on eDiscoverytoday.com, you'll see follow blog via email, and you just put your email address in there. And I'll just say, I mean, I've been a subscriber for a very, very long time. And true to the name of your blog, Doug, you do have at least one post every day on eDiscovery Today. And I know some people would say, well, I already get a lot of email. But what I love about your post and the emails that I get, Doug, is that you put the headline top and center. In other words, I can just glance at it and I can determine if it's something that I want to dig a little bit deeper. But just having that and just being able to glance at that headline when those emails come in are just so helpful, for anybody, even if you're not an eDiscovery nerd like I am, just being able to see some of the trends or some of the issues. Doug, you do such a good job of covering a wide swath, from the AI side to just, what protocols happen in following cases. So I just want to encourage folks, definitely sign up to get the report because this is invaluable to have. But then also just following the blog via email is a good reason to sign up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you plug in your email address and click follow, you'll get a confirmation email. I can't subscribe for you. That's one thing I sometimes get for
Right.
people. They run into some challenges. I say, from a standpoint of confirmation, you've got to confirm. So look for that email. Sometimes it might hit your spam, but confirm, and then you're receiving the blog, and I get notified, and you get the reports.
Doug, as always, thanks for all of your hard work on this. I just know behind the scenes a couple of times when you shared, like there is a lot that goes into this, collecting all of those thought leadership quotes and putting this all together. And it really just is a valuable help to the whole industry, Doug. So I just personally want to say thank you. And on behalf of the industry to say thank you as well. eDiscoverytoday.com is where you can go. As I said, is the top of every page. You can put your email address in. So you can get a copy of the 2026 State of the Industry Report as well. Doug, as always, thank you, and we'll talk with you next time.
Thanks, Brett, and thanks, everybody.